welcome to FreeThinkers Fireside. We put the human and human as one, cozy chat at a time. My name is Helen, also known as House Bells. And yes, I know that I have been sporadic with the show because if you all know me, I'm having like woman problems. My uterus has formed a coup and it sucks, but I feel good this week. So Chad was like, I can come on tonight. I'm like, great, I don't have a guest, so you can come on. So yay. So I have a show. So this is Chad, okay, for people who may not know who you are, tell the people who you are.
I'm still learning that, honestly, because I spent the goodly formative years of my life in a cult. So I myself, I am the product of fundamentalism on several levels. I am the son of a independent fundamental Baptist preacher, and eventually we became missionaries trying to spread fundamentalism to Western Europe. And somewhere along the line, my family got tied up in the IBLP, the Institute in Basic Life Principles, which is the same homeschooling cult that the Duggars of X-Teen Kids and Counting on TLC were part of as well. And before we get into it, I will say that no, I did not know the Duggars personally. Understand that this cult was massive and worldwide. Like, there were literally thousands of people involved.
I did not know that until I saw the documentary. Like, I knew of the Duggars. Like, I maybe like it was mostly like in clip shows where people were talking about like, why do people have 19 children? And then when I started learning about like parental structures and religious trauma and like quiverful movements and stuff like that, I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's not normal. And then like, because I didn't understand like why this, because I didn't watch the fucking show. I had young children at the time of my life too, and I had like 2. I didn't have 19. Like, God, because after 2, I got spayed because I was like, I'm shut down. It's open for it's open for pleasure, not business. So anyway, so when I watched the documentary, I didn't realize how big this cult was. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So that sent me on a weird rabbit hole.
Yep. Well, yeah, and yeah, so, and in reference to what you were saying, I was on the documentary Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, which was season 1 of the documentary series that's on Amazon. And I talked about my experience in the cult and some of the things that happened while I was in it. And ever since, I have made it my purpose to try to take down the rest of IBLP, because it's nowhere near as big as it used to be, but it still exists. And also, I'm kind of turning my cannons toward the rest of fundamentalism and Christian nationalism because, well, if you look around at literally everything, it seems like it's more of a threat now than it ever has been. So I just try to do whatever I can. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're totally fine. No cults here running things.
I love living in an existential crisis all the time. It's great. So much fun.
It's funny because, I have told people, because there has been a lot of talk about, once you leave a cult, especially if you were part of leadership in it, and I briefly was, at least in the fundamentalist church, like what duty you have and how much of the microphone you should have. I gotta say, I did not want to speak out for the longest time. When I left the cult, I realized that a lot of the things that I grew up learning and a lot of things I knew about life were wrong. I didn't feel like it was my place to say shit about anything, really. Right. But as Christian nationalism took more of a hold, and as it seemed like the cult just kept following me into the life I was trying to lead away from it, I was finally like, well, I can at least tell people what this is, because what surprised me was that so many people were just shocked to see just how quickly and like how organized this Christian nationalism nonsense was. And I'm like, well, I can tell you why, because I was involved in the very early stages of the movement in the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Well, and that's what season 2 goes into. So, why are we seeing this? Because right. We're raised this way, and it's just like, well, now it makes sense. Like it, but like seeing it, it's a different experience because I didn't grow up that way. Like, I was adjacent to it. Like, I grew up Catholic, but we were like liberal Catholics. Like, I could be friends with whoever I could be friends with. Like, my parents didn't put like us versus them labels on the religion. It was like, this is just the faith we believe, but I'll pass lead to God kind of thing. And you follow the tradition that your family followed. It was more about familiarship and community, more about than faith. Right. So,
Right.
but I have friends that were Baptists, life fundies. It's not as prevalent in New Hampshire as it is in the South, in other parts of the country. It's a smaller state. It's in New England. It tends to lean a little more liberal. So the really big mega churches and that movement, it had a footing, but it wasn't what it is where I live in Florida, for example. So I was like, okay. So, and I had caught some purity culture stuff in my friends' youth groups, because they were part of the this very funny Baptist family. And so I caught a little bit of that. But the thing is, though, is that my parents told me I couldn't go back and hang with, go to any more of their services, because at one point they found out I was Catholic, and I was going I had been going when I was a kid as a guest.
Mm-hmm.
And and then they started going into, and I'm 13, 14 years old. And the preacher was basically if you're a Catholic, you're going to go to hell, and you are going to feel the fire and brimstone. And I'm like, okay, now I feel targeted. Told my father, he's like, you're not allowed to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And called their parents.
Yep.
He was not happy.
But that's the thing. At that point, you stop being a person in the eyes of the fundamentalists, and you become a project. They will literally throw everything at you to try to convert you and to try to get you involved. And especially at that young of an age, when kids are still very impressionable and really starting to struggle with the bigger questions in life. 13, that is prime targeting age. So it's very smart of your dad to forbid that. Honestly.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Dan. Yes, it is gay. me and my oldest are both queer, and we're both talking about how gay, in the 2000s, dose gay, as a slur. But now, everybody uses, especially as, we're gay. So, it's so good.
And it's funny too, because purity culture does have a lot of that repression, and I think a lot of it is also based on the denial of, especially some of the leaders, some of the parts of their sexuality that they don't want to face. So they figure,
scale.
well, if I'm sorry,
the Haggard scale.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think a lot of it.
Oh my god! If you guys don't
yeah.
know what the Haggard scale is, you need to look it up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and especially who it was named after.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yep.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Purity culture was a huge part of IBLP and what we were raised in. Funny enough, we were doing I Kiss Dating Goodbye before it was cool. I remember when the book came out. Oh, yeah. I remember when the book came out, I'm like, well, we're already doing that. We believed in something called courtship, of course, which a lot of people in the 90s, thought was the way forward in evangelicalism. But ours was taught by a guy named Jonathan Linval, who eventually went just so nuts that he even went beyond the whole courtship thing into something called betrothal. And it essentially was, arranged marriage with a few extra steps, but not many more, So, yeah.
It is. This is the thing about the fundies that I find fascinating, because I grew up religious, but letting go of religion was so easy. The messaging was, especially as a woman, as a queer person, I'm probably going to be dealing with for the rest of my life. But anything but the belief part was easy. And also I didn't lose, I had some pushback, but I didn't lose friends or family. And my family, because basically the Catholics don't do shunning. And also there was some purity culture stuff, but that was because you're supposed to save yourself for marriage, but it wasn't fundamentally you're gonna burn in hell and there's only one person for you. It was more God doesn't really like it when you bang outside of marriage. And I was okay, as a queer person, I will tell you is that when I was a teenager, I thought if I had sex with girls, it wouldn't count, because I wasn't going to, because it was the 90s and gay marriage wasn't legal. And I was just and I'm well, I go, I'm not banging technically, because because this person doesn't have a penis. So loophole.
Mhm.
I did the queer loophole. So anyway, keep going.
Have you ever heard the Garfunkel and Oates song "God's Loophole"?
Yes, I love that
Yeah.
song.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
It's
Like
a variation on that,
fuck me
honestly.
in the
Like,
ass for
it's,
Jesus.
I fucking love that song, but
Yeah. Me and
but
my
yeah,
friend Natalie quoted to each other like at random times. Like it is the best.
oh man, I love a lot of their work, but the thing is, like, this is a huge part of purity culture and the restrictiveness, even to a lesser degree what you experienced, but also like in general the religious oppression. It didn't make people better; it just made people better at getting around the rules.
Right.
Hmm.
So, so when you were growing up, like did you like leave because you were like this is done, or what were you kind of forced out? Like what's your story? How did you end up out like leaving the cult?
That's a very good question. I talked about a little bit at NanoCon earlier this year. Um, I didn't want to leave. I,
Oh
I it's
no.
one of those things where I didn't get kicked out, but it's one of those things I fought really hard to stay in until I just could not, in good conscience, do it anymore.
Hmm.
Um, I want to say maybe the first seeds of doubt started when I left. Well, first of all, okay, so to back way up, we were missionaries in the Netherlands and Belgium for about 7 years, my
Hmm.
family and I spent my entire teenage life over in Western Europe. And I was pretty isolated. We still did the IBLP thing, and we mostly hung out with like other IBLP families that just happened to
Hmm.
be in Europe as well for similar reasons. And when we came back to the States, I was thoroughly unprepared for life outside of the whole homeschooling thing and the ministry, frankly.
Right.
And my folks really weren't much help. They were just like, well, okay, you're 18, 19 at this point. You graduated, so go get a job or something. And I didn't
My
really,
18th
yeah.
birthday, like I could just
Mhm.
feel this shift. They were like, "We're done."
Yep.
Like you can still like be our daughter, but like any responsibility, like we kind of did our job. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
Exactly.
John.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Seth.
Ah,
Hi,
let's,
AJ.
let's see,
Hi, my
guys.
people. Sorry. Hello. I'm
It's all good.
so glad you're here. Okay, Chad, keep talking.
I love seeing familiar faces too. Love you guys. But yeah, so I wasn't really prepared for college at all. As a matter of fact, my
Neither
folks were
was
very
I.
anti-college. Yeah, my folks were very anti-college when I was coming up, saying that
That's
they were
even
going to.
worse. I just
Yeah,
have
they were.
social problems.
Well, yeah, me too for similar reasons. But yes, we were going to do the apprenticeships IBLP had, quote unquote, that you could take advantage of at their training centers. It was essentially you know, slave labor almost, like free, living on campus, having to do everything for free or for less than minimum wage. It essentially was exploited labor for Bill Gothard's empire. Well, those opportunities kind of got less and less by the time I came about college age. And the only colleges my folks would approve of were all cult based. And I knew I couldn't get a good accredited
Job.
degree
Right.
or degree at any of them. So I took a
Right.
gap year, which I'm still on, and I
I've
worked
been on a
at
gap year for
right.
it's coming up on 10.
Yeah. Oh, mine's probably way longer than
It's
that.
well, okay, to be fair, like I can't afford a master's.
Same.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's been 10 years.
Hell, I couldn't afford a bachelor's. Okay, like
I'm
and also we
I'm
didn't
in
have a
so
lot of
much
money.
fucking debt. Like I'm just
Yeah,
and I don't want to pay because like I hate the government and I don't want to give them money
I
right
get
now. I'm
that.
like, I don't want to give you money. Anyway, go
Right.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So I decided to take a job with the church that my dad was affiliated with in Natchez, Mississippi. It was a church that sent us out to Belgium, and I was their music minister for about a year. It was a struggling congregation. They had lost their pastor that had been there for like 50 years, and they were starting over with a new, younger pastor. and it was a rebuilding time. I was working there at nights, and I was, trying to do all the extracurricular stuff that the church had because I lived there on site. And during the day, I was an IT guy. So I was working 2 jobs. I was constantly busy. I was putting everything into this church. And the pastor of that church ended up being accused of abusing his wife to the point where it was, to the point where it was in the paper and everything.
The story. I remember you telling the story. Yeah,
exactly. So, so he resigned, and I was kind of floored by this because I had put so much into this church. Right. And he came back about a month later with her in tow saying, "Oh, no, everything's fine. Just forget all that happened. I want to be pastor again." And come to find out, like, this had happened at the previous church he had been a pastor of as well. Like, essentially the same scenario.
Is there a pattern among predators?
Right?
Don't say. Anyway,
yeah, absolutely. So that was my first inkling that something was desperately wrong because, I fought against him coming back into the church, and the church voted him in anyway. And I asked my dad, because I resigned, I said, "Hey, this isn't right. This shouldn't have happened. What's wrong here?" And he said, "Well, sometimes things like this happen, but we can't really talk about it." And that was what really... Yeah, that was what really started the gears turning in my head, because my dad prided himself on calling out all the sins of the world from the pulpit. But this one we had to keep quiet because it hurt the cause of Christ, from what he said. And that really got my wheels turning.
This is my new question, because I heard this from a Christian. Said, why are you worried about what people say if you believe God is the most powerful thing in the universe? And because the truth will come out. So I don't need to defend God. I don't need to sit there and be like, yeah, my God's going to do this, my God can do that. It's like God will show themselves. And I'm like, that is a very healthy attitude for you to take, Christian person. I like that. So it's like, that's the atheist position. So I just don't believe there is a God. But this person was like, I believe in God, and God will show themselves. I don't need to hurt anyone. I don't need to put anybody down. And I'm like, that's always the point. And I'm like, why would God care if like one of his people would like was a terrible person? Like, I wouldn't want that as my rep.
Well, but that was what I told Dad. I said, well, how does that work? I said, because people know this happened. It was in the paper and everything.
Yeah.
And he said, well, but we don't want to make it worse. And I'm like, but doesn't he have a say in any of this at the time? And so that was what really started my seeds of doubt.
How old were you when this happened?
I was about 19.
Okay.
Yeah,
you mentioned you were getting close to getting out of college and stuff like that. So,
I never even
starting
went.
College. Starting college, not leaving college. Oh my God. Anyway, keep going.
Barely even started. I did like one class, but anyway, so all that happened. Yeah, the truth will always make itself known. Exactly. And
I'm winking terribly. Yeah. Wink, wink. Anyway, keep going.
So, but anyway, I started looking into other instances where this had happened, because I started seeing this the more I looked into scandals that I had either never been told about or had been lied to about in other fundamentalist churches. I found this website called Stuff Fundies Like, which was actually run by a friend of mine who was in the same mission as I was, Daryl Dow.
This is a website?
Yes. Yep. It's defunct now. Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Okay, fine. All right.
Well, it's still archived, but at the time there was like this big community. There was a huge forum that people were talking and sharing their
have they moved to
Reddit? No, actually. The owner of the site, he finally got to a point where he was just like, well, he's like, I feel like I've processed everything I can, and I kind of want to move on, but I'm leaving everything here if others can find it. Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Which at the time I didn't understand it, but I get it now.
But, you totally get it. Like when I was starting the space, I wanted to do everything, and then I'm more like, this is my niche. I like it here, because I'm in control. So anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, so I was looking at all the stories that people were talking about, these scandals and abuses that had happened in the churches they were in, and eventually, like, some of this had to do with ministries that my family was involved with. My dad went to Hiles Anderson College in Hammond, Indiana, and come to find out that the person who started that, who my dad even had personal beef with on a theological level, turns out he had a secret second family. And his son-in-law, who took over the ministry after
Hold
his
on.
death.
What? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What? Repeat that one more time.
Yeah. So the pastor of that church, who in and of himself kind of ran it like a cult, to the point where he was demanding tons of money from his parishioners, and people wouldn't even go on vacation unless they asked him permission as pastor. Turns out he had like a second family, that, you know, that it was kind of an open secret among some of the people there, especially his own family. Yeah.
Wow.
So
How do you do that?
You're the pastor. No one questions you. And
I'm just
like,
I like the second family thing is always the thing that I'm always like, how do you do that? Like, I have one husband and I can barely manage that relationship, like,
yeah.
And then if I have a poly relationship, it's basically like, I just want to have sex with my friends. Like everything else, I'm just kind of like, this is good. Right? Perfect.
But I mean, what else do you have to do? Like, he had everybody else running his empire, and he had his pick of whatever he wanted.
It's like, then that's why they get all like crazy when their dick don't work no more, because they're like, I can't do all the banging at the beginning. Now I have to like control other stuff because my dick don't work. So.
Well, I think that there was a lot happening with that, but even my dad didn't necessarily
like thinking you're crushing Viagra, like snorting cocaine, like I'm gonna do it, get it up. So I'm sorry.
Pretty much. Oh, it's fine. Great visual. Oh man.
I need some levity. Anyway, let's go. I need some levity in your trauma story. Keep going.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I mean, it keeps us going. I swear.
I'm even though my dad person.
Oh, same here. Well, dark humor is like food. Not everyone.
I love gallows humor. Like it's my favorite. Like I'm like, it's kind of fucked, isn't it? Anyway, so keep going.
Sure. And my dad, like, he was aware of this, and he even didn't agree with this guy theologically. But, when I found this out and I confronted my dad about it, even he was like, well, we just don't talk about stuff like that. And then his son-in-law that took over that ministry after this fella had died, he was convicted of transporting a minor across state lines for sex, and was sentenced to federal prison. Yeah.
Okay. Isn't the crossing the lines to have sex with a minor worse versus I have a second family worse? Like what? Like
no. Well, and to be clear, to be clear,
Kyle's here. Hi, Kyle. Okay.
Well, to be clear, the founder. That's fine. Yeah, to be clear, the founder of this ministry and the college and everything, he was the one with the second family. His son-in-law was the one who.
Oh, I'm sorry. I connected the two awfuls together, and I put them in the same narrative, and that's the fault of the marijuana. So I'm going to blame the weed.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, but I am following you. It's just that sometimes the ADHD and the autism and the weed all get intermingled, and they have a fuck fest, and it's a great time, but it gets confusing. Anyway, go ahead.
I get that. And if it ever gets confusing, just let me know. Yeah. But the point is, it was all the same ministry that all this happened at, and it was a very formative ministry to our family's ministry. So I asked my dad about it, and I said, hey, what's up with this? Why does this keep happening? And he said, well, stuff like that happens, but we don't talk about it. And I told him, I said, that's the wrong answer. The answer should have been, I didn't know. Right. Exactly. And the thing is, he knew and said nothing about it. And that was when I started leaving fundamentalism itself. I still wanted to stay in the church. I still wanted to stay, religious, but I knew that the fundamentalism that I was involved with was wrong. So I spent the next couple of years actually trying to find a version of Christianity that worked for me. At this time, I had also started seeing a counselor, a certified counselor, Christian one, but definitely one that had secular certifications. I was very adamant about that. And she encouraged me. She said, you should try to find a version of Christianity that works for you. Visit other churches, look outside of what you've been involved with. And she asked a lot of questions about my family dynamic, and she said, I think you're probably going to need to rethink a lot of things you were taught, because she said it's what I'm seeing and hearing from your story is a high control religion. And she said, and even though I don't know yours specifically, I've seen a lot of people grow up in very similar circumstances, and getting out of it is the first step in healing. So I started visiting other churches, mega churches, maybe a bit more charismatic than I was used to, but I never could really find a church that didn't have some of the same core problems that mine did. Yep.
Kyle's got my back. Thank you, Kyle.
Kyle.
I love you.
Kyle's with Kyle. Yep.
I love my Kyle. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
Hey, you never got back to me about that bigger one I want for over my bed over here. Of the one you took of the Northern Lights. Like you were going to get me a price on that, so I can order it when I have more money to spend. But I'm going to get one because I wanted to go over my bed. So you were supposed to get back to me on that, motherfucker. So here's a reminder. I'm calling you out publicly for not getting back to me. I was good to go. Yay! Fuck yeah! Let me know. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Chad.
Yes.
Hey. Oh, by the way, you should totally go check out Kyle's astrophotography. It is the shit. It's so pretty. I owe several prints now. And I have one that I'm going to put in my office because it looks really good with the gold frame. And it looks good in my office hobbit hole. So I'm going to have some Kyle at home and I'm going to have some Kyle at work. That sounded dirty. Anyway, go ahead, Chad.
I mean, what... that's it comes with the territory.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, I went to a lot of churches, and I found like a lot of things that they were doing that was fundamentally wrong, so to speak, with fundamentalism. They were very focused on making people do all the work, volunteer. They were very focused on like getting you in the smaller groups where you were accountable to folks. Yeah. That's nice. So yeah,
sorry, I can't help myself. No,
it's fine.
Go ahead.
It's all good.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I had a day, so I think some of that energy is coming out. But also, I am really engaged in your story. It's just my brain. So, I can do many things on many levels. Please keep talking. I'm just so sorry.
I squirrel a bit too.
Hey,
I get that. Yeah.
Want to come on my show? Please keep talking.
No, it's cool. So all this happened, and eventually I was like, yep. I was I forgot where I was actually.
Okay, we were talking. Okay, so let me see if I can catch up. Let's see my memory. Okay, so your dad was like, we don't talk about this shit. And you were like, okay, well, I'm gonna just leave fundamentalism. So we're there.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, I went to several different churches, and I was trying to find a version of Christianity that worked for me, because the way I saw it, we didn't have a word called deconstruction back then, but I saw it as everything I knew about the Bible and about Christianity was wrong. I was just going to start over with, I like God and I like Jesus. Let's just see where we go from here. But the more I went to churches, especially here in the States and, in American Christianity in general, the more I just couldn't find anything that took my story seriously or was willing to, I always felt a pressure to perform, which was something that I had in fundamentalism in droves. Like, nothing you ever did was good enough. And in these other churches, you're constantly being pressured. Oh, you need to get in a small group. Oh, you need to connect with a whole bunch of people. Oh, you need to volunteer for all these different ministries and these different opportunities. And I'm like, guys, I'm tired. I said, yeah, I grew up as a missionary kid and a preacher kid. Exactly. I'm like, can I take a year off to just breathe, and just, try to be part of a church? And I think I'd heard about about that one preacher who took a challenge of living as if there were no God, living like an atheist for a year. And I was like, I said, what if I just took a break from all of it? What if I
Something good.
just
What
said,
is living as an atheist where you just don't go to church and don't read your
like,
Bible? And no, we
yeah,
read
like,
Bibles. Like we read it, but we read it academically. We don't read it like this is like true.
yeah.
Like,
Well, my understanding was like, he didn't pray, he didn't read his Bible, he didn't go to church and stuff. He just acted as if like, the intervention of a deity every day wasn't that important to him. And I did that for a few months. I was like, well, I had a job at the time, I had to work on Sundays, so I said that part's easy, and I think I'll just take a break for a minute and just focus on living life, and not really prioritize the prioritize all this
wow.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. First started to wear mixed fabrics, I can go back. Yeah, weird that we never enforced that in fundamentalism. You would think, being fundamentalists, that would be one of the things we do, but no. Yeah. So
Well, that was
I
the funny
started.
thing
Go ahead.
about like the birth control and things in the Catholic
Mhm.
Church, and that you like because it was contradictory. And also too, like I remember in my first marriage, me and my husband had to go to a marriage counseling class by someone that never had been married, because Catholic priests are celibate. How backwards is that? At least in Christian counseling, you can say like pastors and stuff get married, so they're going to give marriage counseling. At least they, like, it's fucked up, but at least they have experience living with another person. And
Which
you're
is
also
funny.
fucking them, and you're gonna raise children together. Like,
Well,
because even so, like, it might not be the best, like, you're doing this for God, but still, you have to learn to find a way to make it work. And usually the ones that are successful are the ones that were like they just took enough advice and then they added in their own shit. So
right.
yeah.
But which is funny because Bill Gothard, the guy who founded IBLP, he was never married, nor did he ever have kids. So
That's what I found
yeah,
so weird about that.
yep.
That's what I was like, how? Because that was very Catholic. I was like, that sounds like Catholic. And I don't know if he ever, like, there was any Catholicism in his past, but everything's a branch off of that anyway.
No,
Which is a branch
he
of other
was.
stuff, which is a branch of other shit, and on it goes. Turtles all the way
Oh,
down.
no, he was evangelical from the start. Like his dad at one point was head of the Gideons. So yeah, he was very much in
Oh,
evangelicalism. So yeah. But the thing is, but getting back to all that, so I started just living as if I didn't like prioritize Christianity. I'm like, I need a break. I need to fit my head around all this and focus on getting my life on track before I go any further on this.
mhm.
In the meantime, Bill Gothard himself ended up resigning from IVLP in disgrace because a bunch of women came forward with stories about how he sexually harassed them and molested them while they were working for him. So that shook me to my core. I said, okay, this is not just, the religious teachings in general. This is like my basic academic life. Everything I learned from like a very early age, from like age 7 to graduation.
Wow.
So that shook me to my core, and I really started rethinking a lot of things then. And that whole like I'm just going to start over with Jesus and God, that quickly became I'm going to have to go further. So I started looking into other religions, but what really stood out to me with other religions is a lot of them seem to be so localized to cultures and parts of the world that I didn't have a background in, and it just seemed a bit appropriative for me to kind of like get into. Not that Christianity wasn't at all
Everything's
taking a
appropriated
20,000
from
foot.
everybody
Yeah,
else. So, like,
exactly. Yeah,
like, pick your bullshit.
exactly.
You know,
And it's just
yeah,
like,
like, which is like, like as a former pagan, because I went from Catholicism to
mhm,
being in the pagan religion for 13 years, and I was later for 10. So I had responsibility, and
mhm.
luckily it wasn't a lot of responsibility because oh boy. But thing is though, is that like when you're in it, like I had left the religion behind, but I just found out that I just really like drama, and I want rituals, and I want
Yep.
people wearing costumes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm like, basically I want to be a cosplayer. But I want to be a cosplayer as like a wood fairy. Like, let's just do that. And I was like, awesome, because that's the thing about the Catholic religion, it is very dramatic. I
Mhm.
don't know if you've ever been to a Catholic mass, but it's a show.
Right. Yeah, I've luckily been able to skip out on a few of those because I've been in a situation where I've been like a funeral and such, but I skipped out right before mass because I heard that could go on a long time. But
An
I
hour.
do have a question for you on that as far as the whole paganism thing. One thing I've noticed people who deconstruct and find themselves in more pagan religions, and I've been meaning to ask someone who's been in it, do you think part of that too is also the desire to have some kind of control over some of the unknowns in life? Like, if you can do these rituals, you can have some kind of control over circumstance.
Okay, so who
Mm-hmm.
falls in like the Simpsons made a joke about this, but it's true. It is usually teenage girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you see this with the younger, even with younger Christian influencers, because you see them doing spell magic. They're very basic. They'll take pages of their Bible, put them all over their nursery and paint over them because they think the Bible is going to protect their baby.
Mm-hmm.
So this is magical ritual, but you're just putting God on it. And I'm like, you're doing magic. Like this is what you're doing. And I think it's because you're young, you're having a baby. Like I got into paganism when I was going through a divorce. And I already been into the occult as a teenager, but like this was the first time I could be able to indulge my interests, and I was going through a very huge transition. When I started getting out of it was after I went to college, after because like I had enough scientific understanding to know like vaccines do work. You go to the doctor when you're sick. Because the thing about the Catholic Church and if you go to Catholic school, I got a science education. But you tend to separate the spiritual from the scientific. Like it's this like, and like it's because I would say like, and I still say it, I'm like, I believe in nature because I can prove it exists, and I say that as a spiritual pagan and as an atheist pagan. And we all want to have some control over our lives. And the thing also too, another thing about paganism, that it is friendly to everybody. I was a queer woman. I could have a position of authority, even though I didn't want all the responsibility. And I recognized that about myself, because what I would do, like, let's say you wanted to learn something like the tarot or all about, Samhain. And I would say, okay, you're gonna study it. You're gonna talk to me, my best friend, like Vincent, who is still my best friend, and my gay husband. We were co-facilitators, and we'll guide you, and then we want you to get to a point where you can teach a class. Because everybody was a student, everybody was a teacher. That's why I'm not as fucked up as I am. I'm just the right amount.
But you see, I feel a kinship to that because, yes, yeah, and also the aesthetic is pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel a kinship to that because one of the biggest issues I had in leaving religion entirely was, the realization that there are now some things in my life that I can't assume are being controlled. Like
right.
they weren't in the first place, but also like now I don't have the comfort of saying, well, everything's part of this grand narrative that is working out toward God's will. Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But like everything's working out in this grand story, or there are some things that I can do to like divinely enhance, the outcome of things I don't have control over. When I left religion, I very quickly realized that not only am I leaving that behind, but I'm also going into this like almost crippling freedom of, ooh, now everything is literally me writing the story. Like, I don't have that safety net of like saying, oh, it's all going to work out because I don't know. Yeah.
Listen, nobody has it together. We're all just really good at pretending about it. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty settled in my personality, but like, my perspective is always changing, and you'll grow and change. Like they're like, because like even who I was 2 days ago is not the same person as I am now. So like there is no fixed state. I don't know. I don't know what being an adult is. Like I know what being a grown up is, and an adult. I adult well. Grown up, I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what that is.
I still need a grown up and an adult. You're adult, honestly.
I'm like, I pay bills, I have sex, and I'm constantly thinking about when I'm going to die. So I think I've hit the max. Like,
I feel like
I'm
I've
doing
got
the
2 out of
best
3
I
of those
can.
going on. Yeah, I got 2 out of 3 of those. You guess which
Yeah,
two?
I know. I'm doing
But
really good. And, well, I mean, like I'll tell you my 4 fundamentals of things for living later. So, but
Mhm,
like I'll say that later. Anyway, keep going. So,
sure.
you were like, this is crazy. Like,
Hmm.
and you left, and I'm sorry, we started going off on the tangent after I asked about the living as an atheist for a year. So, did you do the same thing? And how did it go? Well, obviously, I know how it went, but tell me anyway.
Well, like I stopped making religion a priority at all. I looked into other religions, and they just really didn't speak to me. I then started finding through the algorithm a lot of atheist videos on YouTube, and even some atheist podcasts. Like, I think the
Mm.
very first one I started listening to was God Awful Movies, because I am a
You're
huge
friendly.
fan. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of bad movies, and some of the movies that I remember seeing
I
as a fundamentalist Christian
Catholics
were
don't
god
have
awful.
Christian cinema. Catholics don't have
Was it?
that. We don't have
Yeah,
Christian cinema. We don't. They
yeah.
they support it now because
Hmm.
propaganda is helpful, if
Hmm.
it aligns with their goals. But
Yeah.
mostly the Catholics don't do that. Like, you get like baby's first Bible and like biblical. Like, I didn't even have biblical comic books. Like, I was reading Stephen King at 13 years old. Like, that's why this exists.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
Very cool. But I started listening to god awful movies, and I was like, well, some of the jokes about Christianity make me uncomfortable, but it's still pretty funny. And then I started like listening to some of the other podcasts that were affiliated with it, and I was like, okay, but honestly, like, skepticism makes more sense to my brain, and atheism makes some really good points. So I started looking into it more and more, and it finally all came together right around the time of the first Trump administration, because I remember I had a Sunday off right about the time. Yeah, right
Oh, the
about the time Donald
dominoes
Trump was
started to
elected.
fall.
Yeah.
2016, that was 2016,
Mhm.
27. Boom, 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 boom. And I had just gotten my degree. So, and
Right.
then it was everything started. So,
Same here.
yeah.
Yeah, because I remember not too long after Trump was elected the first time, I had a Sunday off, and I thought about, going to church, and I started going that direction. And it just kept gnawing at me. I was like, I don't really believe in this anymore. I feel like I'm just going for the aesthetic, or for, some of the people I know there. But I also, like, I don't feel like spending time with people who think I'm a literal demon because of who I voted for. And
Which is
I,
so weird.
yeah. Well, I actually stopped. I got off the interstate. I went to a coffee shop, and I got some coffee, and I went to a park here in Birmingham, Alabama, where I sat on a bench, and I said, okay, I just put it out there. I said, look, if there is a God out there that is personal, that wants to talk to me, or wants to have me in their life, or vice versa,
Right.
I said, why don't you come down and talk to me personally? Because I feel like I'm doing all the work here. And at that point, I got into the place in life where I wasn't accepting one-sided relationships. Like, I was done trying to get the favor of people who weren't trying to meet me halfway. So I said, why should I
Right.
do that with deity? I said, I got some very pointed questions that I need answered, especially given my background and the backgrounds of the other people who were abused in this cult. And I said, I have coffee, I have time, let's talk. And I sat there for about 30 minutes, and nothing
Mhm.
happened. I said, that's about what I thought. And that's where I've been ever since. I just walked away, and I said, if there is a deity out there, it can come talk to me itself. I'm done with the PR people. And again,
Right.
I hold to the idea that I could be wrong. There could be a deity out there, but I've not seen good evidence for it. And until that deity like shows me personally, then I don't see a good reason to believe in it. So I am proud to call myself an atheist, because it just doesn't make sense to me. And also, more to the point, if a deity saw me and my friends get abused in its name and did nothing to stop it or mitigate it or even apologize for it, the nicest thing I could say about that deity is it doesn't exist.
Right.
Otherwise, it would
Right.
have to be actually malevolent.
Yeah. And I think when we all get there, letting go of God was very easy because to me, once you start learning about, when I started studying paganism, it is a lot of studying about mythology. And then around, as I started maturing, I started being very interested in psychology and sociology. And then everything and then I got into philosophy, and then everything started tumbling down. And I always say the toothpaste is out of the tube. I can't go back to that way of thinking. Everything you tell me, I'm constantly skeptical about. I'm like, do you have proof? Do you have proof? Do you have proof? Do you have proof?
Mm-hmm.
You can't turn it off. And then even when we get truth, we will still question the truth until somebody else tells us this is the truth. And then you're like, fuck. Because then we're all verifying each other. This is why peer review works. And you just cannot stop it. But I also tell believers, I feel privileged enough that I can say I'm an atheist. I can do it proudly on online spaces. I have no problem because I have enough safety under me to do so. And people always go, they give me a look, and if they question it, or if they believe, I say, but I do believe in kindness. Because it doesn't really matter as long as we're kind. And my work wife is a Christian, and I was having a very bad day today, and she gave me big hugs and let me hold her and let me cry because I don't care at this point. Are you kind? If you're not kind, I don't want you anywhere near me, no matter what position you hold. And not fake kind, trying to win shit.
And I'm of the opinion too that when it comes to pushing it back against the threat of Christian nationalism, we need Christians who are on board for that.
Right.
I have a problem allying with Christians who are wanting to push back against Christian nationalism. And I even told this to a group of women one day who I was wearing a very atheist shirt out in public, and they recognized me from the documentary, and they pulled me aside and they were just like, because they were sitting in front of a coffee shop, they're like, hey, can we talk to you about your shirt? I was like, sure, why not? And so they started trying to witness to me at that point, and I was knocking down all the arguments. And eventually I said, look, guys, I said, I'm just going to spoil this for you. I said,
okay, sorry. Hi, Kelly. I love you. Sorry. I love my girl. I love my girl. And thank you for checking on me today. I love you. Okay, go ahead.
I said, look, I said, I'm going to spoil this for you. I said, I know every argument you're about to make before you make it, because I've done it too. I used to knock on doors and do the same thing you're doing right now, and frankly, I could probably do it better.
Fuck you, Nightbot.
Yeah, right.
Gonna shame Nightbot.
Nightbot, gotta love Nightbot. But I said, look, I said, I'm fine. I said, if you watched that documentary and you thought that the problem was I no longer believe in God, you missed the point of the documentary. I said, what I'm trying to get out there is that the problem is happening in your house. I said, you guys are Christians, and I respect that. Why don't you fix the problem that's happening in your own backyard? I said, you can talk to your people better than I can. Yeah. Aw, Casey. Love that. Thank you. And I saw what flavor you're talking about too. I can't wait for
John's
that.
house. I get cake, Casey. I'm just telling you, it's gonna happen. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But I said, hey, look, I said, y'all can talk to your people better than I can. I said, you can fix the problems in ways that I cannot. You need to go to the people who are causing this abuse and are causing this harm and make them stop. I said, I'll take care of myself. That's fine. But I'm not the thing you should be worried about. And one of the women said, I'll never forget this. She goes, well, you see, I'm not really a church person. I'm more of a Jesus person. And I said, and that's really convenient, isn't it? I said, somehow I, a random person who I'm not related to you, I'm somehow your problem. And you took time out of your day to try to convince me to believe like you do. But when it comes to stuff that's happening in your backyard, you don't feel a responsibility for that. I said, that's why we're having the problem we're having. And that's why I need people like you to actually focus on the real issue. And the real issue is people are being abused in the name of your God. And frankly, most of the evangelical Christians in this country aren't doing shit about it. And the ones who are, I happily will stand beside them. The ones who aren't, well, they need to shape up because people are getting hurt and worse.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so fucking scary because like I like listen, I wish the argument was about like does God exist? Because like that was it was so easy. Like I'm like, I don't fucking know. And I don't care. That's I've hit that point. I don't know and I don't care about a lot of things. So, but I don't, and I understand for people that now everything's being questioned, like whatever. And as our friend Cynthia McDonald says, like any idea you've ever had, any narrative you were told is because a capitalist put it in your brain. And then I'm like, fuck off. So here we are. You can't, I don't know why, like right around this time, like everything started to shift. For those of us that grew up, maybe it's the growing up with the internet, but not like engaging with immediately as in a younger generation. But we had enough, trauma and growth, being like, 70s and 80s babies, that when we get here, we're kind of like, I got everything all wrong. Because we were on the decline. And that's why we're always like, we're young enough to like, please don't do this to the other generations. Like, it's really bad. And because it's not even about belief, it's more about treatment. Because even if you believe in God, then if you believe in God, you still have a moral obligation. And this has nothing to do with your soul. Like you're just supposed to be a good person, which was what your God, like your Jesus person wanted you to be. If you ignore that because you want to, you want to diddle little kids, I have fucking problems with you. I have so many problems because then you hide behind it. That's what the Catholic Church did. Like my CCD teacher priest, he ended up committing, he unalived himself because when the allegations came out in the Spotlight scandal, and I was in New Hampshire, which is one diocese away from Massachusetts, in Boston, where this all broke out. Follow. So I'm like, what the fuck was that? And my parents had the wherewithal to, I went to Catholic school, but I was at home. Thank goodness. I think that's why I'm not as, because it was bad.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. It's just, and I love what you said too about how those of us who like grew up in the 80s and 90s, we actually started like researching, we actually started like speaking out about, hey, we were wrong, because I feel like we are privileged to live in a world where information is readily accessible for us to to actually look up and put a name to our doubts and actually find the information readily that has been bothering us. But it's a two-edged sword, because for whatever reason in
hold on,
go ahead.
Hey Casey, literally I love you. Sorry, it was like you're gonna roll out, if you're gonna roll out the carpet, I'm gonna step on it. Okay, so I'm gonna refill my drink. Probably not wise, but I'm going to do it anyway. Keep talking, because I always in the middle of the show I have to pee and I have to refill my drink. It is just my method. So I allow you, without me being misinterrupty pants, to continue and talk to the people, and I'll be right back. I love you too. Oh my God, so much of you I love. Okay, go.
All right. But yeah, like I said, it's a two-edged sword, because now that we have access to all this information, and those of us who are looking to be better, and those of us who are looking to find the information that that we need to live a better life, or to correct our thinking, or to be better versions of ourselves, the groups that are most wanting to control information, and I'm talking about the religions and some of the some of the people who control the narrative in the media and stuff like that, as far as like, the big conservative cult, as it were, that's actually controlling a lot of the narrative right now. They have figured out ways to, even in the presence of all the information we have access to, somehow become the loudest people in the room. And to be fair, that's kind of how religion, in my opinion, operates. You have the loudest person in the room, of course, being the preacher or the leader or the teacher or the person on stage, and all of us naturally assume that because that person is there, they must know what they're talking about. Because why would they be on a stage with a microphone if they didn't know what they were talking about? And now, and I say all this knowing full well that I am literally sitting here on a computer screen talking to a bunch of people through a microphone. I get the irony there. But at the same time, I'm willing to tell you that, if you're looking to me to tell you how to live your life, that's not my job. And I'm probably the last person you should be listening to for that. What I can tell you is I do know the cult I was raised in and the methods they use to keep people online. And I'm seeing it increasingly adapting to the information age that we have. And along with the great power that we have in information comes a great responsibility for us to, continue to put the truth front and center. That's going to take difficult conversations. That's going to take a willingness to accept and to take responsibility and accountability for the times we were wrong. It's going to take a commitment to the hard truth rather than the snappy lie of a soundbite. And it's not fun. It's not as fun as, a flashy lie. But at the end of the day, it's so much healthier for everyone. And I feel like if we can continue, one of the reasons I keep speaking out against IBLP in particular, even though it's not as big a cult as it used to be, I feel like if we can at least shut down one small section of that was responsible for the nationalism that we're seeing today, we could, in fact, get to a place where it can start making all the other dependencies on it fall. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Thank you. That was great. That was like the first time for me to come back.
Yeah.
So, what we were talking about, what do we need to dismantle? Like one part, I came in right at that.
Yeah. So what I was saying was, when the reason I'm still focusing in on IBLP, the cult I was raised in, is because even though it's small and even though it's not the powerhouse it used to be, it's still the source of so much of the Christian nationalism we see today. People who were affiliated with it, people who were raised in it, are now in positions of authority. Michael Ferris, for example.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Why am I not at your house this weekend? You guys didn't invite me. Fuck off. So anyway, go
well,
ahead.
for me, it's a short drive. But yeah. But yeah, all things being said, though, the point is, I feel like if we can push against, this, core small part of Christian nationalism, I feel like we can learn enough to go after the bigger targets and to go after all the current power players who depended on IBLP to get their start, and we can start digging up more and more things to take down the nationalist institutions that are threatening our democracy and our day-to-day lives.
So what's really funny is that I'm in the space where I'm very much against woo-woo pagan shit, and not like being atheo pagan where you like to do ritual and it connects you psychologically spiritual, that it's a psychological effect, but it makes you feel good, listening to music. Great. I've had plenty of spiritual experiences when I'm high and listening to music, so here we are. So but that's different. I'm about the people that go from Christian to pagan to nature fundy, they go so left that they like they drove off the road and they're going in like all these crazy directions, and you're just like, whoa. Like,
Oh, I know a few.
like,
Yeah.
vaccines aren't a thing. Like,
Yeah.
like all life begins at conception, and on it goes. And you're like, whoa, hold on, we have lost the trail, because now you were in like, oh, my kid's autism needs to be cured by diet. And then you start giving your kids coffee enemas, which happens. It is bad. So like there's a line, like there's the Christian nationalism line, and like the Chew sect at times, but the granola moms and things like that go so off far the rails, they're totally okay with queer people, all that shit, and they're progressive, because that's a big thing in the pagan community, that sexual mutation is just a thing of nature, what you're attracted to. Like I'm probably, like I'm polysexual, like I'm attracted, I'm attracted to a variety of genders, but not all. I have a very like spectrum that I like it on, but it doesn't matter if you're what genitals you have. So that, like, there's the spectrum, right?
Right.
Now, the thing is though, is that if you're living in this, like in that world, these are the people that believe like crystals cure like ADHD. If you just hold a blue crystal of like lapis, and like I never got that far. I was like, this is magic. It's probably a like I had enough skepticism to be like, you know what? Like my son has, my son has autism. I had enough wherewithal to actually go to doctors and therapists, people that did the work, instead of giving my kid like coffee enemas and hoping the autism will go away.
Right. Well, that speaks to what I was talking about too when you were gone earlier. Is one of the things I desperately believe that we need to have in order to push back against the lies of Christian nationalism that are happening today is a commitment to the truth, and a commitment to going with the boring. Yeah, right.
Are we both lesbians?
I mean,
are you lesbian trapped in a cis male body?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean,
I am more than a lesbian.
Partners who can attest to that.
I have all the beings.
but it's going to take like committing to the hard, boring truth rather than the easy, flashy, lie or misconception, because doing that work and trusting the research and trusting the progress of going with things that we know are moving us forward is not as flashy as, like you said, your coffee enemas, your blue crystals. Like, that stuff's easier to sell because, like, well, it could work, who knows, rather than, the progress, sometimes slow, arduous progress of trying to find the truth, always seek the truth. Exactly. Ways to heal.
And here's the thing where it gets tricky. So for example, I work for a home health agency. I'm just going to use this as an example.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite clients just passed today, so I'm a little sad. But she had 4th degree cancer, and she only found out like a couple months ago. Like, she went fast because she spent all her time taking care of her husband, who had a whole crap load of health problems, and she had a memory issue, so she didn't catch it. Plus, she had pancreatic cancer at the start, and that's the hardest one to catch. So. Yeah. So get your blood work done, people. so we were like, okay, well, so when her family found out, she was trying to figure out how to do treatment, and she had a couple of friends that had gone through chemo, and they were alive, but they told her not to do chemo. And then they had another group of people and the name of this company is called Doc Out of the Box. Now, if you hear that and you're raising an eyebrow, good for you.
Yep. Like that.
And I decided to look them up, and they recommended for her to do coffee enemas, and they told her to eat she could barely, like, before she died, was just like doing water and berries, and then she she was basically like, her family were trying to convince her to like do this instead. And I'm like, listen, I go, I can, if she doesn't want to do chemo, fine. Like, she had stage 3 cancer when she first found out. Then it went to stage 4, and then she died today. Okay. I'm a little sad. But anyway, the fact that happened, I was telling my coworker, like the caregiver, that I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, can you just enter, like, gently, show her, like, do her research about like why coffee enemas and the things that she wants to do may not help with cancer, because there's a lot of preventative woo-woo shit. Because guess what? This is complicated. Not everybody is both the fucking same. Weird that. So we're here going like, what the fuck is this? Then I was like, and then we were talking about it in a staff meeting, and my coworker goes, you can't tell them to tell the client not to pursue something. And I'm like, but I go, it's dangerous. And they're like, it's seen as giving medical advice. And if they die, and I'm like, but it's what? Hi, Ryan.
Yep.
I did not grow up IBLP, and thank you for stopping by my channel. I grew up Catholic, and then I was a pagan. I was in the pagan religion. I was Catholic till the time I was 24 years old. Then I became a pagan, and then for 13 years, and I was a leader in it for 10, and now I am whatever this is. So that's where I am now. So, but it's one of those things, like, it's like, I was like, I would like to get to a place where if you know someone is going to do actual harm to themselves that you have scientific evidence of, I should be able to be like, hey, maybe you should be allowed to go tell this person that what they're doing may not be in their best interest.
And, it goes hand in hand with the fundamentalism that I grew up in too, because a lot of those same woo merchants made a killing off of selling, supplements that didn't work, or homeopathic things that just absolutely did not work, almost by design. My dad,
that's what
he also
Drew ended up doing. He Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic. He grew up funding, and then he started believing in, like, natural oils, and chilled them and stuff like that. And then, because it was like a natural sort of jump, because they infiltrated his religious groups.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. My dad, he had pancreatic cancer as well. He had cancer twice before, and the third time he had pancreatic cancer, and they gave him only a few months to live. They did say that it could be treatable with radiation, and he flat out refused because he was afraid of radiation. And he did get us all together to say that he was going to try to treat it naturally with homeopathic remedies and stuff. Now, I had stopped by Walgreens on the way into this meeting, and I had picked up a whole bottle of homeopathic sleep aids that I was going to pull a James Randi and like show that they absolutely do not work by taking the whole bottle, right? I didn't even have to do that, because as he was saying this, I said, well, real quick, I said, did you get a second opinion? And he said, well, it's not really necessary. I was like, no. I said, before we commit to supporting you and all this, I said, I want to know, like, because this is a death sentence.
Do you have some peer review to show?
Yeah, I'm like, have someone else look at this and say, and see if there's any other treatment available. Sure enough, because he said, well, it's not going to work, but fine. So he went and got a second opinion. Come to find out, he had the kind of pancreatic cancer that could be treated with a Whipple surgery. Yes, a very intrusive and very complicated surgery, but it worked. And so he went ahead and did that, and he got about another 5 years out of that, whereas he had like 3 months prior. And the funny thing about it is, after all that, and I know the surgeon who did the Whipple surgery, like, he was one of the few surgeons that we had in our area that could do it. And when he came to talk to my mom and I after the surgery, he literally had sweat dripping off his face, on the end of his nose. He had worked hard to get that surgery done. And after all that, and after Dad was in remission, they put out every social media post out there praising God for his miraculous healing. And I'm like,
I'm sorry, what?
yeah, I'm like, hold on. I said,
Wait,
first of all, yeah.
back up. I have doubts. I have so many doubts.
I'm like, first of all, you were going to resign
this is
yourself
not
to
a
a bunch
prank,
of
my
woo.
friends.
Yeah, you resign yourself to a bunch of woo, and then you only saw a second opinion after I badged you into doing it, and then you had a very complicated surgery that someone literally sweat his ass off over, and somehow this is God's miraculous healing. That is some cognitive dissonance, my friend. Maybe they think the surgeon is God. Not hardly.
Have you seen those pictures of there's Jesus guiding the surgeon's hands, and I'm like, does Jesus know 21st century pancreatic cancer surgery? Because if he does, I'm so you're supposed to know everything. Could he just be zap? I want Jesus to be basically a D&D cleric, a level 20 D&D cleric. I think that's what Jesus should be. I don't know why that's not happening.
Smashing the cancer with a spiritual weapon. Yeah.
You're not get that reference. Either you haven't been in the atheist community enough.
No, trust me. I play a lot of tabletop games, but yeah, smashing the cancer with a spiritual weapon, that would be hilarious.
That would be so great.
A gigantic scalpel.
You get 28 healing points.
Yep.
I don't know. It's such a weird scale when you're playing D&D because you're how bloody am I? Because I know us and we're very fushy. So it's just so funny. So and I think that's the thing that I'm not doing this because okay, so I'm going to tell you my 4 life principles. Okay. These are mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Drink wine. Okay. Play video games. Hang out with your friends and and have orgasms. Those are the 4 things that all you need to.
Do I have to do all this at the same time?
No, you can stop. It's kind of like when you're doing your feats. At which level do you want to do them at? So, because
I've done at least 3 of those things at once. So yeah.
Yes, I have 2.
Yeah.
so, but I'm just saying that those are my 4 life principles. Okay. So, and then but the thing is though, I keep saying that people keep fucking it up because I choose to go to work. Even if I have to participate in capitalism, I still should have the freedom to do those 4 things. Why other people have the freedom to do those 4 things, whatever that looks like for them, and I'm sitting over here going you're ruining my good time. And I can't have a good time if other people aren't having good time because I love ritual and I love a party and I want people to party. And you're fucking it up. So I have to be over here being don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, because somebody's going to get hurt. So y'all got to keep your fucking mouth shut, man. And just let people have their 4 principles of life and everything will be great. So,
yep. I might actually incorporate those. I mean, those aren't really bad principles at all.
I feel like I can do if listen, if I was going to start a religion, and being a leader of even just a handful of people that were all friends, there wasn't even a lot of pressure. It's a lot. At the time, now I'd be oh, that's too much. For my job, I call myself I'm a glorified babysitter. What I do for work, I don't want to do it here. I never want this to become my job. I'll be an advocate and I will sit there because then I can I have control. The thing is though is that I need my job so I can do this.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how I was when I first started on TikTok, is where I initially started telling my story. I did it because you could do 1-minute videos without a whole lot of editing or professionalism. And I was like, that appeals to the lazy part of me just so much to the point where, yeah.
This is the thing. This is why I'm a terrible social media person. Okay.
Hmm.
And I rely on the community, you motherfuckers, to tell people about me, because this is the thing. Like I like long form interviews. Because I want people to tell their stories or whatever you want to. I told you, like, what do you want to talk about? Okay, cool. We'll talk about that. The only thing I say, like, let's not talk about sports, because I know nothing about sports. We can't talk about that because I'll just be so confused. I have my limits. But TikTok is I express myself a lot, and I want other people to express themselves a lot. And I like the little, like, short video, but like I am barely on TikTok.
Hmm.
And my roommate is all the
Well,
time.
these days, myself too. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but like I get like the appeal to, like, millennials and Gen Z. Like, I get it. My oldest is Gen Z, so I totally get it. My roommate is a millennial. Totally get it too. Me, I'm like, listen, I'm like, I am a, like, Facebook, BlueSky, Discord. Please don't ask me to do much more. Like, I'm never on my Instagram. I don't even post link. I took on my Instagram tonight because I was like, I never post like videos on the Instagram. Like, I'm thinking of taking off the TikTok because I'm not on TikTok anyway. I'm like, this is where you can find me. Like, don't even bother with the other shit. Because I had a goal of managing 5. I can manage 3. That is my limit. Oh my God. And I'm not
I will
editing.
admit I'm the world's worst at Discord, so you're beating me on that one.
I've been on since the plague. So, because I was like, I need to talk to people. But it's one of those things, though, is that I'm very happy for the parasocial relationships that I have, because, like, obviously I wouldn't get to meet you. I wouldn't have all these wonderful people in my chat. Hi, Titan. I love you, baby. Me and Titan have known each other since 2020.
Nice.
So, like, we are old school. So, if you ever get a if you ever have a YouTube channel with a live chat, Titan will just be Titan. I need to make you a mod on my channel now. So now
I've seen Titan everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, he's everywhere. Like, I'm like, he's a mod anywhere. Why is he not a mod on my channel? And then I had guilt. So,
Oh, by the way, little
I'm
side
giving
note.
him privileges.
Side note, guess who I used to mod for on TikTok?
Who did you get to mod for?
And she's not on there as much anymore, so I don't have as much fun as I used to. But I used to mod for Promise. Eve was framed. You want to talk about you want to talk about a crazy comment section? Oh my God,
God, I can't
that was a full-time monitoring job.
I watched more of Eve like a couple of years ago, but like I don't watch a lot of like I don't watch like I was a volunteer for the ACA. I was a volunteer from Recovering from Religion. I was a volunteer for I knew a bunch of people in line because we, like, between the ACA and Recovering from Religion line, like, we all interconnect kind of thing. And I don't watch a lot of the content, but like I cannot, because even Eve just like casually mentioning something would like light up everybody, and I'll be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She's just like, hey, maybe women should not be sexually exploitative, even if we're in sex work. And I'm like,
and then people are like, have you considered the trees though? Like, that had nothing to do with anything.
It's like, but I wasn't talking about that. Like, why did and that's the thing. It's like, it's one of those things that after a while you're just like, I don't know how to please you. Because like I'm talking about like, hey, I work in sex work. I don't think people that that work in sex work should be, even though they work in sex work, not be exploitative, like, not be used, as props or whatever. And I'm like, I agree with that. And then somebody be like, well, you don't talk about the trees, like, why don't you believe in God? And just because you're a sex worker, and that's because you're a slut, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, like you've lost the thread. Like you're unraveling. Like
by the way,
like a nun in a porn studio, just it's falling apart.
By the way, can I sidebar on that tree thing? Anyone who says "look at the trees" has never had a Bradford pear in their yard. Okay, like that alone disproves the existence of God. But anyway,
I'm going to be a tree when I die. So I told my kids
oh, that's cool.
that when I die, that I want my ashes to feed a tree. So I will literally, so you look at the trees. I'll be
Yeah.
like, it's mom. Like it's Helen. Because
Mhm.
guess what? I think putting my body in the ground and just letting it rot is dumb.
I
So,
agree. I actually want to donate mine to science just so they could look at it and say, okay, what went wrong here?
right? Well, that too. Like, well, I'm kind of like I'm an organ donor, so like I'm like whatever's usable, sure. Like I'm done. Um, but after that,
I
I'm
mean,
just like whatever's
I've
left.
signed
I'm like
mine
just
too.
I'm like I really just want to. I'm like burn my ashes and feed me to a willow tree, and I'm fine. Because like I'm not gonna be around. They might not even do it. It might be like, Mom, what did you do? And I'm like, I'm not gonna be around, you know. But I have enough people. Like now, you all know. So, and future people that are here, if you hear that I'm not a tree, cause a riot. I don't know what it's gonna look like because you all know here.
How about a tasteful shrubbery?
A tasteful shrubbery. How hot? Okay, so this is a joke. So um okay, Casey, it's actual cake. It's not the cake me and Brie were talking about. This is actual cake. So me Brie
Oh, I'm
me
curious.
me and Brie have had relations and she misses
Ah,
my cake. So
oh
that's
yeah,
why.
I get that.
So
Mhm.
that's fair. I miss my cake too.
There are several slices I missed. Yes, I get that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. Like I will tell you, oh my god, also about this thing with my uterus is that I can't have sex because it hurts
Oh
and makes me
no,
bleed. I may not have
oh that's
sex
super
till
odd.
March
Ooh.
because I don't know when I'm having my surgery. I was like calling the insurance company today. I was like, hey, when do I get my new number for the new year so I can plan my surgery so I can get laid? Like, I didn't say the last part, but I was like, please let it happen. Oh my God, guys, do you know how sexually frustrated I'm going to be? I'm so sorry for all of you. I love you. I am so, I'm so sorry.
Okay, can I gently suggest that maybe you should bring this up to your insurance? You're just like, hey, look, I need to get laid, something terrible, so I need y'all to hurry the hell up.
Like, listen, I don't know. Like, I mean, like the guy that came and talked to us about the new insurance plan was cute. So I could like turn on my I'm cute charm. But influence, I'm an influencer. Am I an influencer? It's debatable.
I would
Everybody's
say
an
so.
influencer if you really get down to it. So look at it
I
that
mean,
way.
that's usually how I do my my pickup lines and everything. Like, hey, baby, I'm on TikTok. Wait, come back. No, okay.
Right?
Oh,
Oh
oh,
my
Casey has a very good question. If you're comfortable answering that.
god. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
But
okay.
that's like we had a conversation about that. So that's gonna happen because I can't. Like, listen, I'm like, I got toys, like I'm an adult, like I got a hand, it's fine. I'm like, I need somebody to touch me too. Like, this is just like, yeah. So, because like and it's so dumb because like, okay, sorry, TMI, but I'm doing it anyway. Last month, like this past month, I didn't get a period, but there was no benefit. Like I would because I couldn't get laid. So I could have had sex anytime I wanted. But guess what? You don't get to participate, in the fact that you don't have a period. And it's dumb. And like, and my husband's like totally sweet. And he's like, I don't want to, like the last time it didn't go great. He goes, no, I don't really, I'm worried about you now. And I'm like, okay, so I have to like, okay, Ember, I'm sorry. Pain is relative, Ember. I love you.
I feel like we all
How
know
much
something
do
about
I
each
need
other
with something? Do
today.
I need with like and the code I'm gonna send you, do you want to do like a spell and I'll put some like sex energy in it? Because I'll totally do that for you. Like I was a witch. like, like I'll do it. And red is the color, and red is the color of lust. See? Plants.
You did it, Reddit.
I did. I am. Woo! And it's also the color of feminist rage. So benefits.
Does that technically make you a friend with benefits?
Okay. Complex in one. It's too funny. Like, indeed. So, do you have more time to stay, or do you need to go?
I do need to go here in a couple of minutes, but
okay,
yeah, I think I got about 10 minutes. Yeah.
But I do want to continue talking to you because it's just too great. But if you have to go, so we're gonna end the show in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So I do want to ask you, like, so I think I knew you from the documentary, but it's only been recently. Like, it feels like you entered the sphere maybe like on our like more where us old schoolers know you. Like where, like when was that transition?
Well, I mean, I really started like going to events and such before Shiny Happy People. I went to the American Atheist Convention when it was in Atlanta back in, what was it, 22? So I really started hanging around with a lot of folks then, and I've been on a few podcasts and such. But I think I've like, really upped my social media presence in the past year or so, appearing on different shows because I've had a little bit more time, frankly, over the past year. Everything. It was funny because the documentary came out right about the time I was the busiest at work, and so.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
I hold on one second. I do this with love. Anyway, go ahead.
Sure. I was about to say, yeah, I mean, fuck my job too, but I get it. No, I was really busy with work right about the time of the documentary and for about a year after that. And then things kind of leveled off to where I had more opportunities to talk to people and kind of be a little bit more present in the space. So that's pretty much like where I've been and why I've only recently been appearing on more things. But I have a lot of my appearances, including this one, will be put up on my link tree coming up. So yeah.
Because like I think the first thing I recently that I was you did Ben's Holy Spirits. So, and then I was like, I know Ben, he's my bud. And then roller coaster. So and then you were
that was so much fun, by the way.
So and then you're part of the fundraiser because you know AJ. And like this is the thing that we all start floating in the same fucking pool. So
and I'm just the latest log.
Well, listen, like my thing was I would just appear on other people's channels before I started my own. So, and this is the beginning of my second. You're my first guest for the after my 1 year anniversary. So
nice, congratulations.
Yeah. So, season 2, everybody. This is the premiere. Here you are.
And you're actually in your season 2.
I am in my season 2. So yeah. Well, like I told. Oh, you want to hear something funny?
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm gonna. So after I have to have surgery and all this shit that's gonna go down. I am going to have actually I don't have a uterus anymore party because I can't. I couldn't have Halloween or Christmas this year. So the other part of it is that I'm calling it my Queen Bee stage. So I'm going to have like a Queen Bee party, or also known as I no longer have a uterus. So, because there is a queen stage in paganism for the, like, it's supposed, like, it's that transition between goddess and hag. It's like the queen stage, and I'm there. Like, I'm I'm still young enough that I'm hot, but I'm still old enough to have wisdom, and I don't have to raise the children. So that stage.
Yeah, I also you could call it a uterus party.
That's even better.
The uterus.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for Chad for being here, especially since it was last minute. And I was like, you can come on tonight. I didn't have a guest. Which because I was like, Ryan, you want to do the show? And she was like, yeah, I'll do the show. And I was like, cool. Can I do anything on Discord? And I'm like, hey, I need a topic and a shot, and I didn't get it. So Ryan, I know we're going to watch this later, but I'm totally calling you out. Anyway, next, I don't know if I'm going to do I don't know if I'm going to do a show next Thursday, but Friday, Secular Rarity is going to be here next Friday, and we're just going to talk shit. Nice. I think we're going to talk about some community building. I think we're going to probably we'll probably end up talking about sex at some point. It will happen. So that's part of the conversation. And I think that's going to happen. And after that, I think like it gets into holiday shit. So maybe not anything for a couple weeks, but or I'll probably have, you know what? I may even have a stream. I might have a holiday stream. And like, you don't have a place to go, we'll have a stream and hang out. Cause I celebrate Yule. So maybe for Christmas, I'll be here. And if you want me to be here, I will totally do a stream. I'll totally do it. If you guys don't have a place to hang for Christmas, I'll do a stream. If I'm feeling up to it too, because I'm doing the hell shit. Anyway, I want to say thank you to Chad for being here. It looks like, I don't know if it's my internet or his. There he is. He's back now. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Chad, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. I will have you on again.
Thank you, Helen. It's been an absolute
I have
joy.
so much more shit I want to talk to you about. So we'll hang. Anyway, everybody else, have a wonderful rest of your night. And as I always say, be kind, stay skeptical, and give someone a compliment. And I will see you all here next Friday. So, bye, motherfuckers. Good night.